Hello, folks of the internet. Welcome to episode 11 of the Deep Fried Neurons podcast. And today I've brought you something that you might have understood from the title, Francis of the Filth, the infamous Filthy Frank and his lore. Now, most of you either think that he is the embodiment of everything that shouldn't exist on the internet, or think of him as the biggest pioneer in shock comedy that our time will ever see. I believe he's both. The part of the act is that he's unflinchingly disgusting and shouldn't have existed. I mean, your opinions aside, I found this very interesting about his channel, that there's an extensive lore, and I thought Francis of the Filth has to be covered on Deep Fried Neurons podcast. So I got around to it. This one is safe for work. I mean, none of the disgusting parts are actually in the video or on the audio. I'm talking about it strictly from the story perspective. If the omniverse of the Filthy Frank universe actually interests you, I encourage you to check it out. Actually, I don't. I do, but I don't. It's weird. You do listen to this though. If you'd rather listen to it from Frank's channel, the original artist, then go ahead. You should stop this video or audio right now and go check out Filthy Frank lore, because I'm about to cue the fucking... Our story begins in the rock paper scissors arena, where Pink Eye is meeting Red Dick. Red Dick this time has brought an ally with him named Prometheus. As usual, Pink Eye and Red Dick play a game of rock paper scissors, and Pink Eye, being the master of the game that he is, beats Red Dick. After the humiliation of the defeat, Red Dick sets Prometheus after Pink Eye, and to save his skin, Pink Eye summons the Dark Lord, Chin-Chin. Chin-Chin, being the Dark Lord, to save his devotee, teaches Red Dick a lesson and then gets in a fight with Prometheus. Prometheus still bodies Chin-Chin, and Chin-Chin is not to be seen for another 3,000 chromosomes. Either he disappeared or died, no one knows. He then shows up way later when Frank is just having a good time with his friends and introducing his house to his newfound fans. In this segment, we're introduced to Salamander Man, Lemon, Safari Man, Pink Guy, and others living inside Frank's house. Soon, one of them picks up that the Dark Lord is coming, and before you know it, Dark Lord is in front of them. The Dark Lord demands sacrifices in exchange for the favor he did Pink Eye, and Frank doesn't have anything on him at the time. Hence, Chin-Chin must take something off of Filthy Frank to teach him a lesson. In this case, it's Salamander Man, somebody from the family. In order to keep Salamander Man in the protection of Filthy Frank, Lemon, one of the powerful deities inside the house, tries to battle Chin-Chin, but Lemon's powers are ineffective in front of the Dark Lord. In the end, the Dark Lord kidnaps Salamander Man successfully and takes him to a realm unknown to Filthy Frank and his friends. Now, in order to get Salamander Man back from Chin-Chin, Frank must muster all the sacrifices he can so that Chin-Chin will be pleased and let Salamander Man go. At this point, he turns to the audience, his fan base, and tells them to give the sacrifices to the Dark Lord in order to make sure that Salamander Man comes back home. Soon, the fans sow in the sacrifices, and they contain enough content to convince anybody that humanity is doomed and we are headed away from God in all possible ways. Now Frank must submit this to Chin-Chin and get his friend back. On the way to submit these sacrifices to Chin-Chin, he comes across Plastic Pinocchio, one of the henchmen of Chin-Chin, and Plastic Pinocchio asks, "Why is it that you're saving Salamander Man?" And this is where we learn that Frank is not only a man of family, but also a man of art. Frank believes that nobody in the universe plays as flute better than Salamander Man. Not to mention, he is family. You can't call quits on family. Hence, he's going to the rock paper scissors arena again to meet Chinchin. Here, he hands Chinchin the sacrifices, and Chinchin is pleased because they're more than enough. But the sacrifices have something missing: Frank's sacrifice. And Frank doesn't have a sacrifice this time. So, Chinchin threatens that Salamander Man will live with Chinchin forever. Frank, at this point, to make peace with the Lord, tells him to listen to the art of the ass flute from Salamander Man. Listening to Salamander Man actually changes Chinchin's opinion, because it's so beautiful that he must let Salamander Man go. And then everything was fine. Until one day, Frank's neighbors started complaining that there's too much noise going on inside Frank's house. Turns out it's not just the neighbors, but also people who live in the house who have observed the same. Apparently Frank is an extremely loud person and doesn't know how to shut up. So all his friends who use his house kick Frank out. Feeling betrayed from his friends, Frank gets new friends, all of them from the dark chocolate realm. All of them loud as well, but they gel well with the other friends. While the others never come back, Dad just becomes one of them. A rare chocolate bald man who doesn't fit in with his own kind now is a friend of Frank. Everything seems to be fine until Safari Man goes out looking for octopus balls. In his quest, he comes across a deity which is threatening and seems like Chinchin, unpleased, which is a sign of bad things to come. They forget about it because there's no evidence to back it up. But soon, on another quest that Safari Man would go on to look for butter slices, he would come across Dard, and Dard falls sick. Along with coughing up chocolate, he also coughs up blood in one of his fits. Now, knowing how all of them care about their friends, Frank starts intense research and immense studies to cure Dard, a rare chocolate bald man who is banished from his own kind. When all research fails, he turns to spiritual methods, but even the strongest broccoli wizards cannot cure Dard. Dard is just too self-aware of how unfinished he was left by God. Hence, Frank is left with no choices but to turn to Chinchin. Chinchin usually doesn't care about the worldly affairs of commoners like Filthy Frank, but Frank promises Chinchin of all the sacrifices he would ever need. Hence, Chinchin cared. Chinchin provided the location and name of Dr. Sack, who could cure Dard. He also provided with 2 henchmen, Broccoli and Pookie. Eventually, Frank, along with his 2 new bodyguards, find Dr. Sack, who is completely unwilling to help, and yet again, Frank's conquest to save Dard has failed. On their way back, they're attacked by racist Santa, who is here to kill Dard because he's a rare chocolate bald man, and many universes want him dead. Frank and his friends fight them off, but in the process, Dad dies of sickness. There's just no way that Dard could be saved at Frank's house. But in the process of trying to save him, Frank did owe a lot of sacrifices to Chinchin. Yet again, in these desperate times, Frank is forced to turn towards his fans. His fans again give him the sacrifices he needs, but Chinchin has gotten greedy. This time, while accepting the sacrifices, he does praise how good this evidence of lack of humanity is. But at the same time, he demands that Pink Guy must come with him because Frank hasn't sacrificed shit. This is the last time Chinchin is taking shit from Filthy Frank. And now, he must be banished to the rice fields. We see that Frank has been banished to the rice fields and is far away from home in a realm he does not recognize along deities he's never met or heard of. Salamander Man is with him and he's trying to contact Pink Guy of what Chinchin's done. At the same time, everything seems to be normal in Frank's house. Red Dick and Pink Guy are cooking and rapping, as they always do. There's music being played. But at the same time, Pink Guy is extremely suspicious of Frank's mannerisms and devotion to Chin Chin. Hence, he goes out looking for Francis of the Filth, thinking that there might be an impostor living with him as Frank. Across his search in many universes, he can only travel to one realm at a time. In order to be able to return back home, he must go back home before he goes to another realm for fuel. On his conquest, he comes across the Green Scavenger, who tells him of the war that is coming with Chin Chin, like an oracle. They fight, and eventually, Salamander Man comes to the rescue of Pink Guy. Salamander Man says it's too late for him, but Frank will be back soon, and he must keep the fake Frank occupied. Meanwhile, on the way back home, Tap Brothers intersect Pink Guy and they beat him up. Hence, Fighter Santa comes rescues him and fake Frank calls him back home to read hater comments. Chin Chin is not pleased because Chin Chin now knows that Pink Guy is looking for Francis of the Filth and is completely aware of his replacement. Pink Guy must now gather all his friends and run away from Chin Chin. Meanwhile, fake Frank is also making allies because the ultimate vegan has found out that he's not the real Frank, but his allies are weak. I mean, in trust, not in power. They're immensely powerful people, just not willing to help fake Frank in adversity. At some point, Chin Chin tracks down Pink Guy as Pink Guy is saving Safari Man from the ambush of the Dark Lord. As they're greeting each other, Chin Chin bodies Safari Man, who starts coughing up blood and doesn't get up from there ever. And Pink Guy is banished to the Dark Realm, to the Shadow Realm. And Chin Chin is about to make his exit when the real Frank shows up. None of us know where Frank was all this time, but we all know that Frank has gained a lot of power while he was gone. Too much power, some would say. He's realized that Chin Chin's powers aren't godly. They're high, but they're not godly. He's like a high priest, and Frank is about to become a peace lord. In this fight, Chin Chin is severely damaged from thinking about his ex after Filthy Frank, the real Frank, hits him with Drake, and he exits. Now there must be a war, and Chin Chin brings his henchmen, and Frank brings his reinforcements, including Young Upgrade, Generation Negi, Mr. ET2, among others. The war lasts many days, and in the end Frank wins. But Chin Chin has still escaped. Fake Frank, however, has died. In the end, we see Frank being killed by Chin Chin for displeasing him, and then Chin Chin being killed by a higher deity. And Pink Guy and Frank then go on to plug Francis of the Filth, the book, which is available on Amazon right now, and I've been too lazy to read it. The end. Okay guys, that's it for this week. And special thanks yet again to Shivangi Kale, who helped me make the intro again. Go check out her channel, she has an amazing voice. And well, if you liked what you saw, please subscribe to my channel, Deep Fried Neurons. Or follow me on SoundCloud and like wherever you're listening to this, just follow us, keep tuning in. If you think the content is worthy, we have a Patreon. Please support us on Patreon. And I'll bring you a new story next week. Goodbye.